Hey everyone, it's Skiesti. Let's talk about Mercy's perk change, and then deep dive into her Stadium gameplay and builds. Mercy's Minor Perk, Angelic Recovery, is being replaced with Angelic Resurrection. Angelic Resurrection gives 100 overhealth after casting Resurrection. Said Resurrection a lot there, huh? Anyway, I would mainly look to take this perk if I'm going for really risky resurrections and I want to be able to ensure I'm safer getting out, or if I want to stay with my res target once they're alive again, since your overhealth gives you a bit more staying power. Something you need to keep in mind for this is only you get overhealth. So if you res someone in a terrible position, they don't get the same protection that you do. If your res gets interrupted or you break it, you will still get the overhealth since the ability is put on cooldown. Since you can't combine it with the increased Guardian Angel range for added protection getting in and out, since they're both minor perks, the biggest thing about this perk is just making sure you're going to be able to successfully get the res and live utilizing the overhealth. Just think of it as a little additional protection after resing. You know, there's a power like this in Stadium that we'll talk about later, and while I think it works well there because of the survivability you can build on top of it that lets you get in better positions for res, aka increasing your HP or building armor/shields, its use as a perk may vary without that protection while going for reses. Obviously, it'd be entirely too powerful if the overhealth was given while you casted Resurrection, because it would reward bad resurrection decisions and habits, and we hate that. But having it apply after definitely decreases its usages. I'll be interested to get my hands on it and be able to actually play and provide better feedback on that, but yeah, I haven't tried it myself yet, but let me know what you guys think of it. On to Stadium! So firstly, there are tons of stats that you can build into in Stadium. However, there's only a few that really affect Mercy. For our beloved Angel, you're going to want to focus on weapon power, attack speed, and cooldown reduction. Everything else doesn't matter too much. None of the stats affect damage boost, only her healing and blaster. Weapon power increases the amount you heal, so it's more healing. Attack speed increases the rate at which you heal, so it's faster healing. And ability power increases healing and damage of abilities. Since Resurrection and Guardian Angel don't do healing or damage, it's almost useless to build on Mercy. So what I'm saying is basically do not build into ability power unless you're using one of the powers that has AP in its description, aka First Responder and or the Wambulance. And even then, it's not like that worth it to invest into over other stats. If you're looking to build into Battle Mercy, you might want to consider max ammo, weapon lifesteal, reload speed, and critical damage. All of those stats are ones that only impact her gun. For the rest of the stats, ability lifesteal doesn't do anything for Mercy. Melee damage does obviously increase her melee, but it's pointless to build into. And move speed can be useful, but she does have specific items we're about to get into that contribute to move speed anyway. I wouldn't specifically build into move speed because of that, but if an item has it as its secondary, like for example, the item Aftermarket Firing Pin has 10% attack speed and 5% move speed. You'd mainly take it for the attack speed, but the movement speed is a nice little bonus. With stats out of the way, let's talk items which actually impact your stats. Please, 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 I cannot stress this enough. Make sure you read the additional descriptions of all of the normal items before you purchase them. A lot of them don't benefit Mercy. For example, in the Survival tab under the Epic section, the Gloom Gauntlet provides 50 armor and 15 melee damage, with melee damage also granting 10% move speed and restoring 5% of your max life over 2 seconds. There's no practical reason for you to ever take that on Mercy, so it's useless to you. Or there's Cyber Venom in the ability tab under the Epic section, which gives 10% ability power and 5% cooldown reduction. This can be good if you're running either or both of her powers that utilize AP, but it also applies 30% healing reduction for 2 seconds when you deal ability damage. Well, Mercy can't deal ability damage, so this actually becomes quite useless for her. Now that you guys have that warning, every hero in Stadium gets unique hero-specific aerodynamic items, so let's go over what all of Mercy's do. In the weapons section, under rare, we have the mid-air mobilizer. While you're airborne, you gain 5% weapon power and 10% attack speed. In the weapons section, we have Caduceus EX, or X, I don't know. Anyway, it has 10% weapon power and 33% Caduceus staff range. There's also Celestial Clip, which is 10% weapon power and 33% max ammo. Caduceus Blaster also now has a 10% chance to fire an extra shot that doesn't consume additional ammo. For her abilities, under rare, we have Long Distance Wings, which is 10% ability power and 33% Guardian Angel range. Then under epic, we've got Resurrection Rangefinder, which is a 10% cooldown reduction and a 75% resurrection range increase. There's also Angelic Acrobatics, which is 15% Guardian Angel move speed, and Guardian Angel's cooldown starts as soon as you jump or crouch. Lastly, in the survival tab, under rare, we actually have two this time. Aerodynamic Feathers grants 25 extra base health, and while affected by Angelic Descent, you'll continuously gain 10% move speed every 1 second up to 60%. Next is Angel Leisure Wear. This also grants 25 base health, and while affected by Angelic Descent or Guardian Angel, you will heal 3% of your life every 1 second. For Survival's epic tier, we've got Blessed Boosters, which grants 50 base health, and your launch velocity is increased by 25% when canceling Guardian Angel with crouch or jump. Our very last one is Chain Evoker. It grants 50 armor, 5% Caduceus staff damage boost, and you get 15% ultimate charge from damage boost. Every hero in Stadium gets 9 powers, so let's go over Mercy's and I'll give you a little bit of insight into what I think about all of them. So I gotta look up how to say this. Like, I've literally never seen this word until Overwatch used it, and I'm like, what is this? Crepuscular Circle. Crepuscular. Okay, anyway. The power that goes with Valkyrie is called Crepuscular Circle. Instead of swapping between healing or damage boost while in Valkyrie, both beams will be automatically applied to nearby allies. This power is actually the very last one in the bottom right, but I have to mention it first for context because I do talk about it in terms of her other powers. It actually does, like, impact quite a bit. When both of your beams are active at the same time, you're free to res, whip out your blaster, or just pay attention to maintaining line of sight to as many allies as possible. Honestly, even if you don't do anything special while the double beams are going, this power is just so ridiculously strong. I'd say it's probably always a must pick. Mercy's got 4 powers for her Caduceus staff. The first one is Distortion. Damage boosted allies gain 20% lifesteal. Distortion is really good on top of the double beam, but relies on your target doing damage to receive the lifesteal. Glass Extra Full. When healing allies that are full health, they gain up to 50 overhealth that stays until damage is done to them. I haven't played this one too much, but it could be useful if you notice your allies are frequently full health during Valkyrie. Protective Beam. Beam targets above 80% health gain 10% damage reduction. Protective Beam is a very good alternative to Distortion. It doesn't rely on your team doing anything, just you keeping them above the 80% life threshold. Serenity. Sympathetic Recovery heals 20% more and heals you even if you're healing a full health ally. I've honestly never felt like I've needed more self-heal personally, especially with the increased health pool and protectants like armor and or shields. But if you feel like you're having a hard time surviving and taking too much damage, it can be a handy option. Threads of Fate. That's a fun title. Your beam chains to your previous target for 3 seconds at 50% effectiveness. Threads of Fate is pretty good early on, but if you build into a Valk build and have Valk frequently, it sort of falls off since it's only active outside of Valkyrie. We've got 1 power for her Caduceus Blaster. For you Battle Mercy fans out there, it's called Battle Medic. Every 1 second your staff is attached to an ally, your blaster gains 4% attack speed, which stacks up to 10 times until you reload or swap back to your staff. I'm sure we can all guess, we all know me, I'm a passive player, so I've never actually taken this one. But if you feel confident in your aim, it can be quite lethal, especially because it stacks with Crepuscular Circle. So when you're in Valk, you'll basically always have 10 stacks plus the infinite ammo from Valk on top of that. And it's like pretty disgusting. We've got a healthy amount of resurrection powers. The first one is Equivalent Exchange. You have 3 charges of Resurrect each round with a 33% reduced cast time. Once those 3 charges are used, Resurrection will be unavailable until the next round. Equivalent Exchange is really interesting because you're able to chain resurrections without waiting the 30 seconds, but once you res 3 times, you're out of an entire ability. If the enemy team has a Mercy that doesn't take this, and you do, they'll likely have res more often than you will. I think ideally the way you want to use it is you chain 2 reses and then leave the third for when you really need it, but it's really restricting and it's punishing. The reduced cast time and the ability to chain res doesn't feel worth the trade-off since you're just sort of stuck with it. Secondly, we've got First Responder. When you res an ally, you both gain overhealth for 6 seconds. The base overhealth is 250, but can increase if you invest in ability power. Gaining overhealth after rezzing, or in the case of your ally being rezzed, allows you both to stay in fights, get aggressive, and apply more pressure. For you specifically, let's say you've got like 400 health, and you go for a very risky res. Like, I'm talking really, really risky. I mean, naturally, the enemy team targets you during it, and you drop below, let's say, 100 health before you complete the res. Sure, you get really low, but you'll get the overhealth immediately after the cast finishes, and basically be full health again. The ability to do that is really handy and should not be understated. This power will also allow for easy, safe repositioning after reses. And then there's Renaissance, and you're gonna want to know that name. After successfully using Resurrect, Valkyrie activates and remains active for 5 seconds. Resing and having Valkyrie activate immediately after gives your team Valk more often and allows you to reposition/survive better. You can technically extend Valkyrie's duration to 20 seconds with this by resing, letting the 5-second Valk run out, then popping Valk, or vice versa. Renaissance is especially handy early game for getting more resurrections in a hectic environment and frequent AoE healing. And it's even better late game when your Valkyrie is kitted out with Crepuscular Circle, which stacks with this power, meaning after you res, you'll have the automatic double beam Valk. It's just really strong. And last but not least, we've got some Guardian Angel powers. The Wambulance. At the end of your Guardian Angel, heal your target for every 1 meter you travel during the flight. The base is 4 HP per 1 meter, but can increase if you invest in ability power. Despite the animation making it seem like it also heals you, the Wambulance only heals your targets. It's not bad, but it is dependent on the distance you travel with your Guardian Angel, which can potentially put you out of position or like encourage you to move more than you need to. However, the burst of healing it offers can definitely be worth it. I've had times I've kept my tank alive through the most impossible scenarios by pairing this power with stats into weapon power, attack speed, and items, one of which is a special mercy item that offer Guardian Angel reductions. The very last power on our list is Triage Units. When targeting allies below 50% with Guardian Angel, you'll heal them 30% more for 3 seconds. Okay, this power can be good, especially if you pair it with the Wambulance, and it can also stack with Crepuscular Circle, but if your team is playing grouped up, and especially if you have a higher Guardian Angel sensitivity, it'll be hard to make sure you're targeting the right person, so just keep that in mind. During the playtest and early access periods, I've tried a multitude of different combinations for Mercy and landed on this one particular build that I've found incredibly strong. It focuses on building Valkyrie fast and frequently using res to get AoE beams, while your items are basically there to aid getting reses, increase your beam capabilities, and increase survivability. For powers, round 1, you want to start with Renaissance to get Valkyrie more often and have safer plus more frequent resurrections. You'll basically just be able to get away with so much more. Round 3, you want to go Crepuscular Circle for both beams at the same time, which stacks with Renaissance. Round 5, you'll take First Responder for overhealth resurrections. And then by round 7, you already have your main 3 powers, so for the 4th one, I like to pick one that amplifies it. Your options for that are Distortion, which relies on your team's performance, Protective Beam, which applies as long as they're above 80% HP, or Glass Extra Full, which gives overhealth if they're all full during Valkyrie frequently. There are other ones you could choose here to round it out, like the Wambulance, Threads of Fate, or Triage Unit, but those are better for early on powers, and by this point, they're kinda meh unless you're struggling with something those powers assist. Now for the items, To preface the item section, please, if you have cash, make sure you spend it. Even if you sell the item next round, just don't leave cash left over if you have an empty item spot. Make sure you use your cash. Your end build should contain the following items: Caduceus EX, to extend beam length and increase healing; Chain Evoker, to increase damage boost to 35% from 30%, and increase ult charge from damage boost; Resurrection Rangefinder, to increase res range and reduce cooldown; Angel Leisure Wear, to increase survivability via flight; Long Distance Wings, to increase Guardian Angel range to get further away reses; and Martian Mender, to reduce cooldown of res and Guardian Angel. Angel Leisure Wear can be replaced with something else, maybe Blessed Boosters or another standard item if you want, but I found it to be pretty helpful. I wouldn't really bother with aerodynamic feathers though. I think there's better items to build. Now, there's a pretty good Mercy specific item called Angelic Acrobatics, which you could take if you want. It makes it so she only has one cooldown for Guardian Angel, and the 1 second active time when you would normally crouch or jump is gone. The reason I don't take this and instead use Martian Mender is because reducing the cooldown of Resurrection is more important, and that also will decrease the Guardian Angel cooldown anyway, so it feels unnecessary unless you want Guardian Angel always off cooldown, which if you toggle GA off, the setting that you should be using, you'll end up in situations where you're still holding down Guardian Angel and end up going somewhere you don't want to, because it's just, you know, off cooldown ASAP. So between rounds, depending on your economy, if you can't afford the items that I mentioned before, here are some other items you can supplement with and why. Ironclad Exhaust Ports gives a 5% cooldown reduction and gives you 25 overhealth for 3 seconds when you use an ability. Since Mercy's Guardian Angel is on a short cooldown, you can stack overhealth with it. This item is a little bugged right now, so if it's not working, just resell it and rebuy it until it works. Multi-tool. I know I've said ability power is basically useless for Mercy, but this also gives 10% cooldown reduction on top of 5% ability power. Since you'll be building First Responder, the AP will just go towards that. Junker Whatchamajig. 25% starting ultimate charge will help you get Valk faster, which is a main goal of the build. Winning Attitude gives 15% ult charge when you die, also great for building Valkyrie. Geneticist's Vial revives you with 200 life after 3 seconds the first time you die each round. It's quite the role reversal for our beloved Angel being the one rezzed instead, but it can come in handy. Booster Jets. Increases attack speed, so faster healing rate, and when you use an ability, you gain 20% move speed for 2 seconds, so it's a great pairing with Guardian Angel. Bottom line is, basically anything that gives weapon power, attack speed, or cooldown reduction will work well. If that still isn't possible, supplement with items that either do similar things or have similar stats to the ones I've outlined, but cost less. Fear not, Battle Mercy enjoyers, there's actually a spin on this build that enhances your blaster capabilities. With this, you'll likely swap the power order to Renaissance, Battle Medic, Crepuscular Circle, and then First Responder, or whatever fourth one you want. And you might want to replace some of the items for ones that increase weapon power, attack speed, and max ammo. Her specialized items, Celestial Clip and or Mid-Air Mobilizer, could be good here. Now, before I say see you later, Mercy's getting new cosmetics this season. We've got 2 new skins, Princess Mercy,
You are a royal pain.
and a Gundam Wing collab skin likely based off of Wing Gundam Zero. Also, her magical girl-themed mythic weapon with the little hamster named Elios will be available whenever the mid-season patches. And that's all from me for now. Let me know in the comments what you think about Mercy's new perk, how she plays in Stadium, your experience with her in Stadium, or whatever else you're excited for this season. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and I will see you next time.